Greetings and welcome to another Tomorrow's World webcast. My name is Wallace Smith and it's wonderful to have you here. Let's have a bit of an economic discussion today. I can't fathom that most of our viewers watching, and most of you watching do tend to be those who watch the news and see what's going on in world events, can have missed what's going on with Greece and Europe. It really is absolutely remarkable. Why is everyone talking about Greece and Europe? If anything, why should people who live far away even care? Because we no longer live in an economy that is just dominated by local interests. Really, the economy is worldwide. There are investments here in America, in Europe, that should things go sour in Europe, you'll find them impacting power plants back home. You'll find them impacting car companies back home, your business back home. So that's why it matters, but really what is going on? There's a lot to summarize, but let me try and boil it down to generally the two themes that you'll hear from commentators. One is that Greece, which is a part of the European Union, and particularly a part of the Eurozone, which are those group of European countries that have committed to a single common currency across all of their borders. Greece is in terrible debt. It can be discussed and debated how it got into that state, but this is its state. It has overextended itself on public debt. It owes far more money that it has borrowed from others that it can truly repay in its current circumstance. And it has been bailed out. There's different discussions. And so right now it is expecting, it is wanting, Greece is asking as a nation for Europe to bail it out. Essentially, come in and adapt for us. Yeah, we've got all of this debt, but you can't just expect us to not pay people. You can't expect us not to support the people on these pensions and other things. So just restructure our debt obligations with you or invest some more money. Let us borrow more money perhaps, but please help us change. And there's a lot of worry about that because if other countries are concerned that if they just keep enabling Greece to carry such heavy debt and to make the kinds of decisions that brought them into that circumstance, well, where does it end? Many believe that would be the end of the European Union because you're all tied together, if you will, and yet at the same time, if one nation can lack so much discipline, as it's pictured by those who argue this, then what's the fate of the rest of us? How can we survive as a union? Won't Greece's example of overextending itself and still being saved out of its own misery, won't that simply extend to other nations who will be inspired to do the same? That's one line of argumentation. The other line is, what if Greece were to leave? What if its situation is so bad that it takes the advice of many economists, including some American economists, and decides, you know what, we'll do better on our own. We're going to leave the European Union and be just Greece again, not tied to these other countries. We'll have our own currency, just forget the euro, drop that, and then we'll be able to do what nations like the United States have done and just vary our own currency's value and just sort of make our debt a whole lot easier on paper because now we control our own economic future and we're not all tied together. Well, part of what makes the European Union work, if you'll call it work, is that the nations are supposed to feel that they have to stay together. When you tie a people together by a common fate, they're more likely to work together. And if there's a nation that just feels it can abandon that fate or it can change its own fate, regardless of what happens to the other countries, then what would really happen to the European Union? What if another nation decides to do the same thing? It's really quite a quandary. And frankly, I wanted to get the most recent news I could for this particular webcast, but it seems like the news is changing every single day. New agreements are made, new denials, and the rest. It's really quite a drama. However, there's a consistent theme in a lot of commentary that you will see, and that is, will the European Union survive? Actually, it was worded really well in an article I did find from July 3rd by James Roberts, writing for dailysignal.com. And the title was, Could This Be the Beginning of the End for the European Union? Well, could it be? Was it just simply a fantasy of people that is going to pass away into the night as the nations dissolve into their own nation statements, not tied together anymore? Believe it or not, the Bible has something to say about that. You don't need a degree in economics to actually know the future of the European Union. We have many resources on our website for you to check out. Feel free and go to tomorrowsworld.org and take a look at the search box and just type in European Union for a start. But let me give you two things that you can continue to watch for that the Bible assures us is so. One, this bickering between Greece and the other states, that really isn't going to end in a fundamental way. The European Union is described in Daniel chapter 2 as being a mixture of clay and iron. Substances that you can clump together and you can make a shape from, but they truly don't mix. They don't really adhere to each other. And that isn't going to change that fundamental characteristic of Europe. There will be something to tie them together, but those fundamental differences are going to remain because they're prophesied to remain. But that said, the second thing that you can guarantee that you will see on the horizon is a completely and utterly transformed Europe, where Europe does come together as a whole, in fact, as a remarkable whole, representing the most powerful economic, political, and military entity in history. And it will far outshine even the United States, which frankly will become a second bit player on the world scene. The Bible says it is so. If you haven't heard that news before, you need to know and you need to run to our website. So really, is this the beginning of the end for the European Union? Is it really the death throes? I'd say it's the birth pangs. It's not the beginning of the end, but you know what? It could be the end of the beginning. Do check us out at our website at tomorrowsworld.org. Also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. It was good to have you here, and we'll see you for the next webcast.